right, so tell me about your story, your endometriosis journey. What was that like?
Wow. It's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably more than the average woman with endometriosis because for me, I never had the common symptom of chronic pelvic pain. I never had period pain in high school. I remember it was after I finished university, maybe I was 21 or so, I started getting severe bloating. Severe bloating, where when I was going to the airport, they thought I was pregnant. And
Wow.
during that time, they used to make pregnant women walk around the scanner, right? My stomach used to get look like a 7 months pregnant.
The information shared on Everyday Period is for educational and informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of a qualified healthcare provider with any questions or concerns you may have regarding your health or medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay seeking it because of something you heard on this show. Your health is unique and only a medical professional can provide personalized guidance.
Everyday Period releases the taboo, the stigma, and the awkwardness from reproductive health and creates opportunities for education and real conversation. Hi, I am Shelly-Ann, your host and guide as we navigate the murky waters of all things reproductive health. I have a guest. Yes, man! You know, I'm always excited that I have the good, nice guests then because this is an opportunity for me to learn. And if I'm going to learn, you're going to learn. So we're going to learn together.
Let's normalize the talk, celebrate the experience, and make periods something we're proud to discuss. Welcome to the conversation. I want to hear from you. If you have any questions or comments about the topic, or if you have a question about reproductive health generally, send us an email at embraceherflow@gmail.com. You can also like, share, and subscribe to our channel, Period TV. And just remember, we are here for you. Everyday Period is brought to you by Herflow Foundation, empowering Jamaicans one flow at a time. Everyday Period is an AP1 production. Follow Herflow on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, and Facebook at Herflow Foundation, and visit our website at embraceherflow.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter.
I want to introduce to you the wonderful, the smart, the survivor, the real fabulous Miss Shauna Fuller Clarke.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, and Shauna, let me tell you, tell the people of your business a little bit. I met Shauna through her endometriosis advocacy. She struggled with endometriosis for a little bit of a while, so we're gonna check in with her to see what's going on with her. We want to know about her advocacy. She is the founder of BASE Foundation. Google them. Matter of fact, I'm gonna put the information on the screen, and so you can find out more about the work. All right, so everybody who comes here has to answer this question. Do you remember your first period? Tell us about it.
I do. My first period was the summer after I finished first form. And my mom was not in Jamaica. She wasn't in the house. And something just started happening. I had no pain or anything, but it was a little scary in the beginning. And then I realized, oh my gosh, this is my period. Big woman, no. But it was so scary. And so I fumbled a bit. Yes, she had shown me how to use everything, but you not really pay attention.
Yes.
And so I fumbled. I think I even took the outer wrapping of the pad off because I just did not remember. And I was just in a state of confusion. And I fumbled about, and then mommy came back to Jamaica and we had the conversation and, I figured it out in the end. But yeah, 11 years old, I think.
Wow, that is very interesting. It is so important that we recognize the untimeliness of periods. And I tell a lot of parents, that look here, you don't know. You can plan, you can tell me what your experience was, but that period, sometimes it's coming like it planned for you. It's spiteful, because with all the preparation that you do, you still will never be able to tell when that first period starts. And that's why it's so important to prepare the kids, not just talk to them about it, show them
I wish I paid more attention to, the opening of the pad and how everything should have stayed, because it was a little traumatic for me in the beginning at 11, and my mom was not around, right? But we figured it out.
Yes, you figured it out.
Yeah.
All right, so tell me about your story, your endometriosis journey. What was that like?
Wow, it's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably more than the average woman with endometriosis, because for me, I never had the common symptom of chronic pelvic pain. I never had period pain in high school. I remember it was after I finished university, maybe I was 21 or so, I started getting severe bloating. Severe bloating, where when I was going to the airport, they thought I was pregnant. And during that time, they used to make pregnant women walk around the scanner, right? My stomach used to get look like 7 months pregnant. But I think when things really started getting bad was around my period, probably 5 years after, then I started getting pain. And when I was about 28, I started having shortness of breath, where I couldn't walk 5 feet without kind of gasping. And I live in a townhouse, and I remember my bedroom is at the top. And every time I had to go to the top of the stairs, I had to hold on to the dresser and just try and catch my breath. I used to go out, couldn't really dance because I'd be out of breath. So I actually thought that, Shauna, you put on too much weight, you're unfit, you forgot to do some exercise. So I used to go to Emancipation Park with a girlfriend. That didn't help me. And eventually, after about a year and a half, because Jamaicans, sometimes you try and self-medicate, you try and self-diagnose, and I was like, let me just go to a doctor. Went to a doctor. The doctor prescribed me an asthma puff and some medication. And this time I'm 29 now, and I'm like, okay, all right. Develop asthma now. All right, I'll roll with it. It helped a little, but not too much. And I'll never forget, I went to school in England and we had a reunion. And my mom said, you're not going to England without me, And I'm like, okay. So we ended up sleeping in the same room. And she was by my side for a lot of the time. And she said, Shauna, say you don't really sound too right when you're sleeping. You sound like you're not breathing right. And I'm like, okay. And then by this time, the level of exhaustion was just so much. And then when I was coming back to Jamaica after that flight, which is about 9 hours, I started feeling like a prickling sensation in my chest. And then I spoke with my mom and we said, okay, go and get a second opinion. So I went and I got a second opinion. And the doctor, when they put them thing right here, so I go, breathe in and then breathe out. The doctor did that a couple of times and he said, this not supposed to sound like this. Girl.
That's not a comment you want to hear.
Thank you very much. You don't want to hear that we're in a doctor's office. So he said, I'm going to make you do an x-ray because I like how that's so.
So, right.
And after a couple of weeks, when he got the results, he sent a message through my parents because we're close and they're his friend, they're friends, to say Shauna needs to go to the hospital right now. My parents told me when I was in a meeting, they were distracted. And I'm like, guys, come on, let's finish this meeting, because I work with my parents. And eventually they go, someone else was in the meeting and they go, oh, I'm not sure if you're aware, but Shauna is ill. And I'm in the meeting going, what are you talking about? You mean this Shauna is ill? And they go, yes, the doctor sent a message to say you need to go to the hospital right now. And that was 2009. And that was a Labor Day weekend. And so I left. I went home. I packed an overnight bag because surely it must just be a quick visit.
Right.
Or one night.
Yeah, just a checkup.
Because we're going to sort it out. Got to the hospital. It started to sink in. The doctor showed me the x-ray and the right side of the x-ray was completely white. And he goes, there's liquid in your chest. And so I'm hoping it's a particular color because we're going to try and get that liquid out of your chest. And so we got a pulmonologist and they decided to tap my back. And tap the back, you put something in the back and then pull it to try and get out the liquid.
Liquid, right.
They never really have to pull much. And I want to tell you, I felt like I was going to die. The amount of pain I felt when they were pulling the liquid from my chest, because there was liquid in my chest. My body felt like it was going into shock.
Wow.
And they took out 2 liters of liquid from my chest.
How are you still alive?
Girl, why? God knows. God knows. The color of the liquid was like, if you've ever had red wine and you leave it and it go bad and it's a dark red with residue in the bottom.
Yeah.
Same way, son. So while I was screaming my head off because it was that much pain, and I have a very high tolerance for pain, my mother and my brother were outside, and I can't imagine what they were going through listening to me like that and watching someone wheel out 2 liters. It's like, a 2-liter Pepsi bottle?
Look here.
Okay. That was the Thursday. They pulled another 2 liters the Friday, right? So I lost weight. Of course.
Of course.
My mom was just like, Shauna, you're losing so much weight. Yes, mommy. They took 4 liters of liquid from my chest. And so they did a bunch of tests, but there was no one in the lab to check
That was a holiday
the liquid
weekend.
because it's a holiday weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So they said, you're not getting any worse. By this time, I can't lie down flat. I had to be like slightly elevated. I couldn't really walk far because my oxygen levels were pretty crap. And I said, we're going to release you because you're not getting any worse. Might as well you stay home where you're comfortable till they do everything. I'm just happy that my parents were in a position to try and fly me out. So a few days after, that time it was Air Jamaica that was here, we had to secure oxygen. Normally they needed however many days notice. So we had to get some oxygen tanks, test my oxygen levels to make sure I could fly, get a wheelchair. I mean, it was very traumatic for my family more than for me, which is really weird.
Mm-hmm.
The only time I ever cried was when people looked like they felt sorry for me.
Mm-hmm.
I was still in a state of, okay, I'm just sorting out myself. So I got to the States, I went to Miami, Florida. I went to a reputable hospital, and they saw the results of the x-rays. They heard my story and they checked me in right away.
Mm-hmm.
And I had surgery like 2 days after that. It was like emergency surgery because they said what you present with is what a 60-year-old would present with. At this time, we have no idea what's causing this.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did cardiothoracic surgery, and they said that my lung was very tightly wrapped in mucus the size of a tennis ball. So it looked like for me just to get the shortness of breath, my lung had collapsed. Yes. Yes.
I don't know what to do with myself.
Yes. Yes. And so they had intubated me.
Mm-hmm.
They stopped the vocal cords a little bit when I did that. I was in ICU for a few days, in the hospital for the remainder of the days. So many visits from different students and doctors trying to figure out what could have caused this because no one had any idea. And I was 29 years old with a collapsed lung. So in the end, they released me. I had a chest tube. I had it in so long, my skin started growing like it was growing on the chest tube, girl. So eventually they released me and they go, Shauna, this could happen again because we don't know what causes.
Mm-hmm.
So I left anxious, but relieved that I wasn't getting any worse. And some doctor friends of mine in Jamaica said, let them check for this thing called endometriosis. That's the first time I'd heard the word. Couldn't even pronounce it well, so I had to write it down as they spelt it. And then I went to a gynecologist there and said, could it be this thing? Laugh after me.
Yeah, because I'm so far based on what you're saying, you don't present any reproductive health issues.
No.
It's your lungs and your heart.
Yeah, it's my lungs.
It's up here, so.
Doctor
Then it must run out of the office.
truly laughed me out of the office.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I had built up enough strength and I felt comfortable to travel back to Jamaica, I came back. Eventually went to another gynecologist because my friends and my mother was just like, this must be a gynecological issue. Went, told my doctor the symptoms, what I've gone through, and he said, I feel like it could be this thing, but the only way we can know for sure is if we do a laparoscopy, because that is the gold standard.
Right.
And so he wanted to do it right away, and I was just like, no, because I've just gone through too much.
Yeah,
I'm not willing to go through another procedure right now. So we ended up doing the surgery in 2010, and that was when I was officially diagnosed with stage 4 endometriosis.
Wow.
So that's my, and that's chapter 1. that was in 2010.
Shauna, do you realize that you just described endometriosis and you said collapsed lung?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people, they think about endometriosis and they automatically think period or cramps. But what I try to encourage, or what I try to promote in terms of the awareness, is endometriosis is a whole body disease.
Whole body disease. That is a fact.
The most common area is the pelvic area.
Mm-hmm.
But like me, there are women who have had collapsed lungs.
Mm-hmm.
There's a woman who has it behind her nose. Every month she has nosebleeds. There's one woman that I know goes to UA when she has endo in her brain.
Yes, I heard.
So she will have
someone who has
seizures.
it in her brain, yeah.
Right, so it can affect your digestive system, your reproductive system, your respiratory system. And so I'm so thankful that we're having this conversation, because it brings awareness to this disease that they believe is period problem.
Yeah.
And just reproductive
Just
problem.
reproductive.
When it's so much more.
Wow, and it is so. As a woman, when you complain about certain things, they came up with terms like hysteria as a medical term to describe how women mental anguish and frustration.
Yeah.
So just imagine how many of us right now going to doctors trying to figure out different things and don't even make the connection to see it's possibly endometriosis.
I mean, that's a real problem. I mean, a real problem is that depending on where the tissue ends up, women might present with different symptoms, right? And so it's so important for the regular doctor to know what are some of the symptoms of endometriosis, to be able to try and have an early diagnosis. I mean, there's so many horror stories out there, and there are so many women living the horror because they're not sharing or speaking out, because take 2 Panadol, you don't get used to it yet.
Yeah.
You know, or you don't even talk about periods because the taboo.
Yes.
We know this.
Yes.
Or based on society's expectations of the role women must play or should play, if anything affects your fertility, you're not going to talk about it.
Yes.
Right?
It must be a secret.
And if you do talk about it, there are some people within our community that are unkind. We've seen it play out in the entertainment spaces, in regular spaces, where some people might call a woman that can't have a child immune, right? So there's so many different things that affect why we don't speak about it more, but we probably need to look at how we are as a society.
Oh, for sure.
You know, if we look after each other and, you know, just view those things as important.
Wow. Well, you know, I'm gonna you need a break, because I need a break. I need a break. We're gonna take a break. Coming back with more from Shauna after this.
Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Join the movement by liking, sharing, or dropping your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear from you.
Hey, welcome back to Everyday Period. We are here with our very special guest, Miss Shauna Fuller Clarke, and she has just been telling us about her endo journey. Shauna, you all right now? How you do now? Miss stress out. How you do? You all right?
Right now, I'm in a very good place. But it's taken a lot to get here, because when that happened to me, that was 15 or so years ago.
Right.
So I've had 3 surgeries since. It's been trial and error to find out what works for me, because based on how I present, different things work, right? So nutrition, you know, having a good relationship with my doctors, exercising, all these different things. So right now, I'm in a much better place than I was. So I'm good.
Happy to hear that. Well, we tend to turn our pain into purpose. And I want to talk to you about that. So after everything you just told me, I'm sure you really just want to see how you can use your experience to help others or to educate and build awareness around this very challenging disease. Tell me about your work with BASE.
So BASE started in 2013. It means Better Awareness and Support for Endometriosis. And the birth of BASE was really supposed to be a website sharing information. And my mom, I have a very close family. My mom was just like, why are you limiting yourself to that? Surely you can start a foundation. Because if you have this, so many other women should have it. So we started this foundation. It was supposed to be like a Fluxity, right? I'm just going to share information and do what I can. And it really ballooned into something so much more because I cannot count the number of girls and women who have approached us, who have been inspired and have now become courageous to share their stories because I am sharing my story and other women are sharing their stories because a lot of these women felt like they were alone. So when they see one person can share and they go, oh my God, that happens to me too. Oh, what? This is a disease? Oh my goodness. You mean I can get treatment? I can actually manage it? There can be some relief. So at BASE, we provide information and we provide support. And we do this a couple of ways. We go into schools. Let's talk endo at schools because teenagers tend to be the ones who go the most misdiagnosed or undiagnosed.
Right.
Sometimes the parents don't listen, believe. Sometimes the teachers, the school administrators don't listen or believe, even though this child might be in the nurse's office every month. So we go into the schools and we have conversations with girls and boys about the symptoms, how we treat it, that there is hope at the end of the tunnel, right? We go into workplaces as well because HR professionals and unit managers sometimes don't believe. Sometimes they think the staff is lazy or is trying to cut work or they're exaggerating. I mean, we know people in our community who have lost their jobs because they just don't think they're performing well, or, and in the workplace, women can lose up to almost 7 hours of productivity per week. So, and we also share with the public, right? So information, support, awareness, and we do encourage our doctors to stay on top of things.
They must
stay on top of things. So that is pretty much what we do. And, we've kind of gone into another phase now where we're trying to lobby for policy change.
Yes, I'm there with you on the policy because I have a little pet peeve.
What is the pet peeve?
I think the way they're discussing the low birth rate is irresponsible and willy-nilly, and I'm not hearing any strategy or policy around it. And it is my personal belief that the low birth rate is a symptom of the overall reproductive health of the nation. And I'm not just talking about the women, because usually when we talk about birth, them automatically think it's a woman issue.
We know it's not.
But the health of the sperm is a thing too.
Yeah.
But I think that the general approach, just based, I don't know everything that they have planned, but what has been demonstrated is that we do not have a strategic approach to looking at the reproductive health of the nation and seeing how we can improve that will show positive results for the birth rate. And when I hear you say policy, I think that should be a part of that conversation.
They're not gonna have a choice. because I mean, I can talk about policy for hours, right? So the government, whichever government is in power, is gonna face very real societal problems if they do not solve this birth rate issue.
Yes.
I mean, there are countries across the world now that are trying to say, okay, just recently, you won't have to pay any income tax if you have one child, if you have 2 children or whatever, you won't have to pay any income tax. Or buy this house because there are no young people to buy property. There's a lot, right? What I always try and do, because I do work in strategy a lot, so I'm happy that you said no strategic thought. what is the big picture? In 10, 20 years, if it continues in this rate, what is the
What's the
impact?
plan?
What are the mitigation strategies? What is the root cause? Surely the reproductive health is one thing. The cost of living is probably another. People's probably perspective of what life should be for them is another, right? Some people are not thinking, okay, when I grow up, I automatically want to have 5 kids. No? Some people are just like, I don't want to have kids because it might be expensive, right? And a lot of things have to do with the reproductive health as well.
Correct.
And we do not speak about it. We do not teach it. We do not have things in place to improve it. And so we need a holistic approach from so many different people in the society to be able to try and address this issue and not wait until 20 years. We got to be proactive as a nation.
I agree. I fully agree. I just don't see the proactive ment happening. Did I just make a word? I think I did. You know what I mean?
I know there are some entities. I know the Hugh Winter Fertility Management Unit had a session last year because they have been raising the alarm. They're just like, there's a low birth rate, right? And they do speak about the men, not just the women, as well as an issue. And I don't think the powers at be recognize the long-term impact or the medium to long-term impact. And I also think that often, am I going to get shot in my leg? Often we think about the quick wins and the immediate thing.
For sure.
And we're not thinking
The long
medium to
game.
long term.
No, we're not
and
thinking
so,
the long term at
and
all.
we've seen this decade over decade, right?
Yes.
So we don't want to play catch up. We want to be proactive.
Yes, for sure. And I think the economic argument is very valid. The truth is that it is more and more expensive to bear children.
Yeah, man.
But historically also, money never stopped poor people from having.
True.
Yeah,
Well, they had a family structure.
They did.
Yeah, the community used to help raise the
That's where I was
child.
gonna go. They had the community. Cause
Yeah.
grandma was a very important factor in child rearing. You know, and even child care.
Yes.
The conversation around child care should be a part of that discussion, that policy discussion, because the parent has to work.
Yeah.
Without the society is now, the homes need more than one income.
Yes.
You know, but back to Endometriosis.
Right.
Because we have to get distracted. So at base, you know what I want to ask you, Shauna? I have some demands of my own that if I had the power and the magic wand to wave and cause some things to change, I would change. What would that look like for you if you could make some asks? Give me 3. What would you like to see happen to improve the support system, the infrastructure, the education? Just let me know. What would be your wish list?
That's such a good question. And my list is so long. I think for long-term impact, I would say 1, that endometriosis or reproductive health more than AIDS and HIV is taught in schools. So that we can really make a difference for the younger generation. So they are aware of the symptoms, because once you're aware, you can get early intervention, which makes sure you have a better quality of life. So that's the first thing. The second thing I would say is that it's if I could have a magic wand, you know, ideally I'd want to have a cure for it. But I think making it more affordable for people to get treatments, because it's incredibly expensive.
That's a fact.
To be able. And so a lot of women who want to be able to get better treatment cannot afford it.
That's a fact.
Right?
Yes.
So the children, the financial, and I think the last thing I would say is that there is policy and societal change, so that we are more knowledgeable, accommodating with flexi work, that kind of thing. and not just for endometriosis, but for different things that affect
Yeah.
people, to be a more caring society, because without the people, what society is there? What work is there?
Yeah.
Right? What work is there?
We need the people.
And the magic one would really be a cure. We don't spend as much time on endometriosis as we do on things like Viagra, right? So
Erectile dysfunction, you can say it.
erectile
You were very concerned about the health
erectile dysfunction.
of erections. Yes.
They were able to, do research, come up with something, prototype it, test it, whatever, in less than 5 years.
Yes, because
Right.
the investment makes a difference.
Right. So you see the disparity, because this is considered a women's health thing.
Correct.
So those are the things I believe would definitely put us in a better place in terms of treatment of endometriosis.
Yeah, I agree with all of those, and you have our list is very similar, because you touch education, you touch cost, and you touch policy. Very similar. If you get your wish, I'll get mine. too. For real, because I think that that education piece is so important. Comprehensive reproductive and sexual health education needs to be a mandatory item on the curriculum of every public school in this country. We should teach reproductive health at every level.
Well, they're going to say they do.
No,
The thing is, they're going to say they do, and I believe they are open to changes, but sometimes they want some of the research to back it. They
Shauna,
teach about AIDS and HIV and how girls get pregnant.
Yes, and that's where I was gonna go, because I go to over 100 schools a year, and they still, it's a controversial statement. We do not urinate through our vagina. A teacher said, so where we urinate through? So not even the biology. That's a controversial statement. So I have to say, we have to ask, okay, so it's called a vulva, and there is a urethra, which is a different space from where the vagina is. We urinate through a urethra. Urine don't come out of the vagina. That is the conversation that I'm having. I don't know why you're making that face. Your face needs to stop it. You're shouting at me with your face.
I'm in shock.
Yes. So even before we get to endometriosis, we don't even get the body parts right. So the need for education cannot be stated enough.
That's a shocker. I'm still speechless.
All right.
And I'm hardly left speechless.
Well,
Yeah, so there's
that.
so much
work to do.
I mean, we have each in our own spaces, connected spaces. We've done a lot, right? But there's so much work to be done.
Correct.
I mean, when I started, people did not know the word, couldn't say the word at all. I know when you started, period, what are we talking about? Right? So more and more, but there's still so
much more.
I feel
So
like
much more.
every time I go out there's still another person who's never heard of this. I went somewhere yesterday and a security guard saw this pin, which is our awareness call, and him go, I want woman thing that don't. When I always have something. Him say, him go, what is for now?
What is what now? What is now?
Say endometriosis awareness. Say, all right. But women we are complicated. We have a whole different reproductive system than men do, right? So we should get the treatment that we deserve.
Yeah, and you know what? Gentlemen, feel free to come and talk about the things that matters to you too, because there are some things over there to deal with, because everybody acts as if the most important thing about the male reproductive system is the erection. When the truth is, y'all need to be concerned about your sperm too.
Yep.
You're swimmers, not swimming. Okay? I'm gonna leave it there. All right, so let's talk a little bit about just support. What can we do? What can we do in the spaces? What can caregivers do? What can educators do? The people who are in the spaces where the patients of the survivors of endometriosis occupy? How can they support them? What can they do starting today?
I think the first thing is to believe them. That goes a long way in supporting the person, right? I think the second thing is to arm yourself with knowledge so you can understand what they're going through. My parents did that after I was diagnosed, and they had aha moments. Because, geez, say one time, but they think Shauna did lazy, when she always sleep. But it was really the fatigue, which was a symptom of endometriosis. Oh my gosh, right? So believing them, understanding what the disease is about. Now, if you're in a school, if someone says they can't do their final exam, do not let them, one final exam, do not let them sit the entire year over. So that lack of empathy or that unwillingness to work with someone is something that I would encourage you to change, whether you're at school or whether you're at work. At work, because I think it's a two-way thing, right? I think it's a partnership, because your support system, whether it's your family or your friends or your coworkers or your boss, they can't support you if they don't know what you're going through.
Right.
So even at work, share with the HR manager, hey, I have this thing. If your doctor needs to write a note, sure, right? But then can the HR manager or your boss have some level of flexibility where, let's say you take a painkiller or you have to go home 2 hours before, can you make up that time, right? And when you are well, can you not procrastinate, right? So it's like a give and take, it's a partnership. So I think believe them, understand the disease, don't give up on them, make sure they know they're not alone and that you still love them, especially if you have a daughter that has endometriosis. Let her know that this does not define her. Suppose you have a wife who has endometriosis and she cannot have kids. Does that make her less than a woman? It surely does not. So supporting the person, and this would happen if you have endometriosis or if you have another disease.
Yes, whatever. Yeah.
It's basic empathy, a flexibility to work. It is the understanding. It is the believing them, and encourage them to advocate for themselves, right?
Yes.
Because they know their bodies. So I know my body, so it was me who had to go to a doctor. Suppose I go into a doctor and nothing happen, my husband realized and say, Shauna, this not work for you, You realize that this not work? You want to see if you can go to another doctor? And you can join them at the doctor as well. Because sometimes when I'm in the doctor's office, they might talk to you, but you're really not here. Because everything is just a lot.
And you're an advocate.
Yeah. So advocate for yourself, but join them as well so you can understand and help them. And I think those are good stepping stones.
I agree.
To be able to support someone, whether they're in school, in your household, at work.
I agree. And that support is very important. Just because you're not the one going through it don't mean you need to disengage and leave the person alone to deal with it. And I'm specifically talking to husbands, boyfriends, partners. Oh no? Yes, never wait. If you said, you man a woman problem that. No,
You know what's funny?
Participate.
What's funny about that is I have found a lot of boyfriends and husbands call me
Yes, man.
to say my wife or my girlfriend is going through this, but she now go to the doctor.
I like them.
When I'm on radio stations, I will often get boyfriends and husbands call in. Sometimes I find the women are not as supportive. And sometimes it's the women that's calling somebody a mule and not the man.
Not the man, yes, it's true.
So man or woman, and sometimes as well, you might ask me to go this week and I'm having an endo flare. Still ask me next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, who knows, I might be feeling better. But when you stop asking, then I start to feel isolated.
And just leave you out of the group.
Start to feel depressed because I say, geez, I'm really do this on my own.
Yeah.
So that just level of support is
That's
important.
an excellent point. The friends, the friend group.
Yep.
So you don't always have to go to the hottest party and think not everybody in the group can go to the party. You can do another activity that don't require you to go nowhere. You can come in, stay inside and go the person outside eat food. That's always a good thing. Bring food when you go to people. Yeah, that's important. Shauna, thank you so much. This has been so important. And this is our first of many discussions because she has enough more to talk about and we want to know more from her. Because the truth is, endometriosis is still a mystery in a lot of ways. Research is still being done on it. Different things are being discovered, and even with the symptoms, even with the list of symptoms that are out there, there's something out there where somebody never knows said that was associated with endometriosis until they find out. So it is going to be a continuous conversation. So I really appreciate that you came and spoke with us today. We're going to take one more break. Then we have Ask the Period Lady, and we're going to hear more from Shauna.
Everyday Period is brought to you by Herflow Foundation. The Herflow Foundation is dedicated to improving menstrual health and addressing key social issues affecting women and girls in Jamaica. Through advocacy, education, and direct support, Herflow works to break the stigma surrounding menstruation and empower women to live healthier, more fulfilling lives. Herflow's flagship project is to end the period poverty in Jamaica. Since inception, Herflow has donated over 9 million menstrual products to Jamaicans in need. To learn more about Herflow, please visit embraceherflow.com.
Hi, welcome back. This is Everyday Period. We're here with our wonderful guest, an Endo soldier. Let me say, the normally say Endo Warrior, and what's that big soldier? This Justin, she's an Endo ninja. Shauna Fuller Clarke is here with us today, and it's time for Ask the Period Lady. Whenever we have this segment and there's a guest in the chair, the guest gets to ask me the question. So let me see if I can answer this one.
I think this one is gonna be easy. I don't think it's hard. I know of some of your struggles, right? And I am curious as to how you are able to seemingly appear so upbeat all the time when others are unable to do so, and what tips would you give persons?
Ooh, wow. All right, okay. Come Shauna with a hard question that she call easy. All right, how am I able to stay so upbeat all the time? I'm not upbeat all the time.
I said seemingly upbeat.
Yes, seemingly. Yeah, but there are people who believe that I am stress-free and problem-free, and that's because they catch me in this type of mood sometimes. But the truth is, I have troubles like everybody. I have problems like everybody. But I purposely focus on the good things about my life or the good things about my day. I started doing that after I lost my mother. I lost my mother to colon cancer, and I felt like I had to start from scratch. So I moved from my apartment where I was living. I sold my car. I started my life all over again. And I made the decision that instead of focusing on the things that are not going right, I'm going to focus on the things that are. And it's not easy to do. It is a struggle. But I find that if you develop a practice, you can develop a habit. And so that's literally what I try to do. I try to just focus on the things that are going good for my life. Another thing that I do on purpose, people always say to me, what do I get out of this work? This work is very personal and very selfish to me because I get a lot of positive experiences out of it. When I go to schools and I talk to girls, and it's tedious because they have to call the school, and sometimes they're miserable, and the teacher them complain and they want all kind of things. And when you get in front of the students and one student come up to you and say, Miss, I really learned something from you today because I never know this. That's all I do. And that makes it work. And so even with the fact that if you look around us right now, there's a whole heap of negative things going on, I just focus on the fact that there are so many good things going on.
Yes.
Right? And you can either focus on the negative thing or you can focus on the good thing. I just decided to focus on the good thing.
Yes.
That's the best answer I can give.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, man. And thank you so much for that question. That made me reflect a moment. But for real though, we are going to have to be continued on this discussion. We have a lot more things to talk about. I think we need to come up with a master plan and take over the world like Pinky and the Brain.
Yes.
So
yes, girl.
Hey, Everyday Period fam. If you're loving these real unfiltered conversations about reproductive health, Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Join the movement by liking, sharing, or dropping your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear from you. Let's keep breaking the stigma and spreading the knowledge. Periods don't stop, and neither do we. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, and Facebook at HerFlow Foundation.
Thank you so much for having me on to talk about something that affects so many girls and women, and being that voice to help, amplify to Jamaica and the world. So I do appreciate you for doing this, Shelly.
Yes, man, and I thank you. And I'm telling you right now, we have evidence. The Endo sisters have an open invitation to Everyday Period. Come tell on a story.
Oh, gosh.
Because this right here is a very big part of building their awareness, of helping people get their voice, of helping them find help. So, Endo sisters, you have a open invitation, and bring your partner to Taiwan. We like you from the man, then bring your husband then, and the boyfriend then. But she talk about more. We like to talk to them. Bring them come. But before we leave, Shauna, tell the people where them can find you.
So you can find us on social media, Base Jamaica. That's the same handle for Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can email us at hello@basejamaica.com, and you can call us at 810-2273. That's 810-BASE. So if you have a question, if you need information, if you want to give us a donation.
Yes, that part.
If you want to support us going into the schools or printed material, whatever we need to do, you can contact us and we will be sure to let you know how you can give us some to help us.
It takes cash to care.
It does.
It really does. Thank you so much, Miss Shauna. And thank you for joining us for another exciting, informative episode of Everyday Period. Before we go, I just want to remind you that reproductive health is not just about period and pregnancy. It's about how we take care of ourselves physically, mentally, emotionally, even socially, as we go through life from puberty to menopause. Remember, reproductive health is a major part of that, so take care of yourself and each other. Until next time, I am Shelly-Ann Weeks, your period lady. This has been Everyday Period. Take care. Walk good.
If you want to get in touch after the show, send your questions or comments to embraceherflow@gmail.com. Until next time, remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel, Period TV. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, and Facebook at HerFlow Foundation. Our website is embraceherflow.com, and don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter. Thanks to our production team, April and Digital Pro, for the great support, and thank you for tuning in. See you next time. Take care. Walk good.